Welcome to the Judgment Free Zone. You've downloaded the Alcohol-Free Marriage and More podcast with Matt and Amy, recorded live from the cornfields of Central Illinois. Welcome to episode 93 for November 24th, 2024.
Hello there, children. Welcome back to your weekly freak show that is the Alcohol-Free Marriage and More podcast. I am Matt, along with the always lovely and Christmased up Coach Amy. How are you, my love?
I am awesome.
And
I'm Christmased up.
The houses, you aren't personally.
Oh, I was like going,
no.
Well, I mean, I am wearing silver and gold.
I know. You don't live here, so don't judge how we decorate our house.
You know what? I want to bring that up.
Quickly. We have a great interview.
I know we have a good interview. We have a great interview.
But
I don't like being made to feel bad about decorating early.
Amy, I told you the best thing we saw. Thanksgiving is a day. Christmas is a season.
Christmas is a season. And also, who cares?
Right.
Who cares if my house is red and silver and green instead of orange and tan and whatever? It's getting together. It's enjoying. I mean, and it doesn't matter to me.
Well, if your Thanksgiving is over or almost over, don't forget, always click the link down below. We've got a link to Coach Amy's Advent AF calendar or AF Advent calendar.
Alcohol-free Advent calendar,
yes.
Not the other that maybe some of you might think when you see AF, because
Advent AF, baby.
Yeah. So, but, and we're going to be talking about some stuff that is actually available. So don't feel like you have to take notes when we go over something.
Some of these stuff.
Some of the things that are coming up here. So
our links that are down below are the Beyond Spirit 7 tips to start your AF journey, as well as our weekly marriage meeting guide, which we actually just did this morning.
We did.
Every Sunday.
No.
We missed last week.
We missed last week. And can I just say that I did feel like some disconnect throughout the week. I'm like, we didn't plan out. We didn't look ahead. I would have prioritized a couple of things that weren't on the schedule, and then and it's fine that we didn't do them.
But it does help. I'm telling you.
It does. It really does. So if you want to feel more connected, you know what? Yeah, I would say, and don't just do it once.
And you don't have to be married. You can be dating. I think dating would work just the same.
I think so too.
It's about connect. It's all about
I think you can
connection.
use this. I think you can use this with any type of conversation, that when you're trying to build better communication skills with someone.
Right.
I think you can absolutely use it for a kid.
You could.
Coworker, kids,
people, anybody.
friends,
neighbor,
somebody that you want to connect with better.
Somebody you want to improve a relationship with. There's
Sure.
tips. There's tips in there that help.
Yes.
Help all people. But speaking of tips that help all people, Amy.
Yes.
Thanksgiving is coming up. The holidays are coming up.
Yes.
What are some tips for people
Okay.
who want to stay AF? Maybe they just started their journey and this is their first experience through the holiday season, which can be a little challenging.
Maybe they started last January and this is the first holiday season.
Dun, dun, dun.
I mean, that was not easy. So
you have 5 little tips here that kind of give
they're going to be in the show notes. They're going to be, you can get them in the Alcohol-Free Advent calendar, or if you don't subscribe, or if you do subscribe, they will also be in the newsletter that will be coming out. So
there you go. Go jointheirside.com if you want to get on that little train.
Yep. And if you do want these, like I said, go to the AF calendar. So have a plan beforehand.
Yes.
Are you going to drink or not?
Or what are you going to take? Yes.
And, I do tell people, many people I work with at the beginning are still drinking mindfully. So drink mindfully.
Yes.
Okay, and that's not easy.
No. But if you go in ahead of time knowing that, it helps.
Yeah. Another tip along with that plan beforehand, if you're going to a restaurant, call ahead. See if they have any options. If somebody is hosting the party, ask if you can hey, I'm going to bring my own. Don't worry about me.
Or, like this says, get there early, and so you can order your drink, get something in a rocks glass, get some club soda and lime, and nobody will think twice about it. The trick is the glass.
Yeah.
Just don't get it in a water
Yep.
glass.
So the first one was have a plan beforehand. Matt just said the next one, get there early and order your drink ahead of time. The other thing is, if the host asks what you would like to drink, just say, thank you for asking. I'm thirsty, and I'd really like to have a glass of water, or practice beforehand what you're going to actually order. Hey, I would like a club soda and lime, please.
If they really push alcohol on you, practice saying, suck it, Karen. No.
No, we're not.
Sorry, that's not a tip. That is not...
We're not going to do that.
Okay, we're not doing that. Sorry.
We're not doing that, Matt.
Put that in your back pocket. Just
okay.
In case. All right, but number 3 then.
Have an exit plan. Remember, you can leave whenever you want. You are a grown adult.
True story.
And so I like to let people know that once people start drinking and that, you can do the old bathroom trick. Hey, I'm going to go to the bathroom, and then quietly slide out, especially if
Irish goodbyes aren't just for drunks.
Yeah. I mean, especially if it's like if you're at a restaurant or something like that. Or, you can quietly go over, tell the host, hey, I'm going to be taking off. We'll see you later. And just, got an early morning, whatever.
Yeah. Which all goes back to your plan beforehand.
Yes, exactly. And then the next one, number 4, host your gathering.
We are doing that.
We are doing that. And I believe that's what we did when I first went alcohol-free, but it was Easter.
Yep.
And so I had all my own stuff.
Right.
I encouraged other people, if you want to bring something, please bring your own.
Yep.
And I think that is also is something that is very helpful. One little thing in there too, if you can tell somebody that you're doing this, share it with somebody, that also can help you. So if you don't feel like you have somebody that you can share it with who's at the event or whatever, use us. Reach out to us. We'll be your friend that you can reach out to. Absolutely. And then finally, number 5 is ask yourself the following. Do you really want to go? And why are you going?
Right.
I think that's really the important thing. Are you going to please somebody? Because if you're in the early stages, you do not have to go to everything.
No.
You can be incredibly choosy about this. If it's going to a family dinner, I don't know your scenario, but use those tips that are up prior.
Yep.
If it's something like that. But if it's something you're like, you know what, I just don't want to go, don't go.
No, don't go. Don't go. That's okay.
Don't go.
No.
It's okay. Set boundaries for yourself. You are an adult. You do not have to go and be the people pleaser and please everybody all of the time. Taking a break.
There you go.
Protect it.
Cool. Oh, I forgot that song doesn't stop by itself. It's been a minute since I used it, I guess. So our drink of the week, we just have the one this week, and always remember there's a Go Brewing discount down below. I'm very excited.
Proxy.
Amy, next week, next week, we're actually interviewing Grant from Bureau, the brewmaster of Bureau.
I know, that is crazy.
Yeah, he won't be on for a couple weeks, so we have a couple other interviews to get to, especially the one this week. But before we get to that,
we might want to plan that out so that people have enough time to order.
Before the holiday. We may want to bump stuff around. Yeah,
so that people can order for Christmas and
that's a great point.
New Year's Eve and that. So
all right, we'll have to work on that. But anyway, let's cut to the chase, Amy. Our drink of the week, we just have the one. Yeah. When we were in Chicago last weekend, we were at Italy, a fun little place to hang out. Italy, not Italy. Italy. And we've seen this advertised before. It's called Proxies.
Yeah. We had never had it.
No, we never had it. We got the red and a white, actually.
Yeah, we'll have to try the white now.
And I'll read what they say on their website to give them a fair shake. Blending wine grapes, fruits, teas, spices, and complex ferments, Proxies go way beyond the grape to capture everything that makes a wine a great pairing with food. Acidity, body, and tannin, without the alcohol. Go ahead.
You go ahead.
I was going to say, not my favorite.
I just had an idea, though, for what we have left.
What?
I want to get a little thing of cider. If you mix that with maybe some cider. And
apple cider or cider vinegar?
Apple cider.
Oh, well, I can see that.
If you mixed it with some apple cider, I could see it being more of a mold. It just wasn't, I did not realize that it was like an alternative. Yeah. Whereas like toast, I knew.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say it's more like a toast. Like if you're looking for a wine replacement, go Gießen, go Luminary, even Free or Ariel. Those are dealcoholized wines. Proxies is more like a toast. It's like it's a different creation.
I could definitely see it being mixed in with, a bubbly water or something like that. I think for me that would probably. I think I would like it probably maybe a little bit more.
And what always saves a mediocre NA wine is a little
all the bitters.
Few drops of all the bitters. So check out our friends at All the Bitters. That is always good if you want to sexy up. Excuse me, a wine that maybe just
You're
doesn't.
so funny today, like sexy up. I'm like, who are you?
No. I'm gonna sexy up. If you're somebody who's recently quit and you're like, oh, what's a good wine substitute for the holidays? That's not going to give you the wine vibe.
Yeah, true. But
But it's not bad.
I also want to warn people though, if you are recently have quit, or taking a break from alcohol and you drink a red wine and de-alcoholized, whatever, you're probably not going to be happy. You're going to be disappointed because your brain is going to tell you, well, that doesn't taste right because it's not getting the drug.
True.
And
I always say beer, wine, spirits, kind of good, better, best. It's like if
so
beer's the best, wine kind of works, spirits don't.
But for me, what I did was I just went ahead and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to drink the NA white wine.
Right.
Because it helped me. It helped me feel included. It helped me not feel like I was sticking out. I liked it well enough. Was it going to replace what I was missing at the time? No. Nothing is going to replace a drug.
Right. Except the drug.
And over time, that's going to build up for you. And I will honestly say, putting some time between you and that helped. And now I'm like, oh, I really do like it. I can enjoy a glass of Gießen Red or Gießen White or whatever. So, anyways.
All right. Moving along, Coach Amy. Okay. To Hollie, one of our two now we've had interviews I'd say in studio, but our studio is only built for two. So when we have a third person, we actually go back to the dining room, which is where our old Red Boy podcast was in the dining room. So you'll notice if you're watching on the YouTubes, you'll notice a bit of a scenery change, if you will.
Exactly.
But tell us about Hollie, Amy.
Hollie Carnahan is from San Antonio, Texas, and she's been married to her husband for 29 years. She has two beautiful daughters who are 25, 22. She has two awesome son-in-laws as well now, and she has a beautiful, precious little granddaughter who just turned 21 months. And we're going to just leave it there because Hollie's going to talk a little bit about how we met. Well, welcome, Hollie, to our, not studio.
To the dining room.
To the dining room.
We haven't podcasted in the dining room in a long time.
So excited that you're here. So I'm just going to ask as we get started, because we're going to our connection will be revealed in this as well. But where are you from? And just tell us where you're from, a little bit about yourself, and, maybe just, I don't know, maybe something that you like to do.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you all for having me. It's good to be here. I am from San Antonio, Texas, and I've been married to my wonderful husband, David, for 29 years. I have two beautiful daughters and two awesome sons-in-law. And I have a precious granddaughter who is 21 months old. I love to travel, especially when I'm traveling to spend time with my girls and my granddaughter. My oldest daughter lives here in Bloomington, Illinois, and my youngest daughter lives in Corpus Christi, Texas.
All right.
I have a question. Mm-hmm. How'd you find yourself to be in our dining room?
I think it's a God thing. So it was a Sunday afternoon. I had gotten home from church. I was just Sabbathing on the couch, resting, and I was scrolling on Facebook, and I'm a part of several sober Facebook groups. And so I'm just scrolling, and then as I'm scrolling, I see a picture of this very pretty woman on a stage, and I could tell she was singing. And then I read her comment, and it was something like that she was so thankful to be able to worship and help lead her church in worship. There was a time in the past that she couldn't do that for different reasons. And I just remember feeling like I'm just going to read all the comments that everyone is saying because I'm a believer and she's a believer. And so I read some of the comments, and then someone asked, "Where do you go to church?" And then Amy responded, "I go to Vale Church in Bloomington, Illinois." And I just sat there and I was like, oh my goodness, my daughter just moved from Texas to Bloomington, Illinois and goes to Vale Church.
Jeez, what are the odds?
I know. And we had already attended Vale with my daughter and son-in-law months prior on another visit. But I was just shocked. And there was something inside of me that said, I really need to meet this woman.
I think that's so crazy. And then...
But the group that it was in is an AF alumni group, right?
Yes,
it is.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Alcohol-free alumni.
Yeah, and I've done coaching in that group. I've helped lead in that group. And so, but I had no idea, you never know
Right.
who you're going to meet. And that was so funny. Then all of a sudden, you are up here and you reach out.
Yes. And so on my next visit, I was telling my daughter and my son-in-law, I said, I saw this woman on Facebook and she lives here and goes to your church. I said, it sounds crazy, but I know we don't know each other, but I want to reach out to her like on Messenger and just say, hey, I think we've walked similar paths and
Yeah.
would you want to meet? And then Amy responded, oh my goodness. And, it was.
Yes,
it was-
absolutely.
yes,
And
exactly.
your kids are like, Mom, that's how you end up in a trunk. You're reaching out to strangers on the internet.
I know. It was very weird. I've never done anything like that before.
I know.
but-
It was a weird, it's this, it's like dating, like online dating. It's like, all right, I'm going to be online friending. We met.
I'll have a red shirt on at the restaurant.
And so we met. And we met for dinner. It was awesome. One of our favorite restaurants here in town. And that dinner ended up, oh my gosh, we were there for 3. We almost closed the place.
I don't even think I ate my food. I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
that I boxed it up to go because we were just talking.
And it was just a great experience. And it was like, oh my gosh, this is so fun to meet somebody and be able to just bond over something. And
Yes.
and so many of us, I think that's the thing. The connection is we're not alone in this.
Yes.
And so many people think that you're alone in this. And it's not, overall, as our society, so many people feel like they're alone when they can't handle alcohol. But then you add in our stories, being Christian women who are struggling and don't want to share, but then we're scared if we share that, what have we done?
Right.
What have we done wrong?
Yeah.
So I want to just go ahead and let's just start off and just wherever you want to pick up in your story, let's just tell us a little bit about your journey to freedom.
Okay. As far as my story, I wasn't necessarily considered an alcoholic per my Christian counselor. I wasn't physically addicted. I wasn't waking up in the morning, drinking, etc. I didn't really have a rock bottom, but I was in a habitual cycle of drinking too much, too often. 2 to 3 glasses of wine, sometimes more, pretty much every night. And I couldn't seem to stop. I was silently struggling with not wanting to drink every night, but still ended up drinking most nights. I don't know if I have a label, alcohol use disorder or gray area drinking. I tried to quit so many times over the years, too many to count, but this time was different. As I looked back on the previous weeks leading up to me removing alcohol from my life for good, I could see God using so many events and conversations that led to me surrendering this part of my life to God. A conversation with one of my best friends. I remember we were planning our annual weekend away trip with our husbands. We've all been friends for over 20 years. And one of the options that came up was going to a vineyard in the hill country. I remember that day walking into my kitchen as I was feeling so unsettled about planning a whole trip around alcohol. My friend came into the kitchen and she knew something was wrong. I told her I was struggling again, like so many times before over the years. And she knew of my struggles. I had told her almost every time when I would struggle. But I'll never forget what she said this time. She said something like, Hollie, just let it go. You're never going to change. That stung. And she loves me and I love her. But that, I just never will forget that. And I thought about that comment so many times over the following weeks. I also had a conversation with my life group leader. And in passing, she had mentioned that for her and her husband, drinking alcohol was a sin. I remember being taken aback. I'm like, did she just say that out loud? I mean, there's other people around because, a lot of people will get into a debate on that. But she said for her and her husband, it was a sin. And so I reflected over that on the drive home that night and thinking to myself, my constant doubting about alcohol, am I sinning? Because I'm doubting. And so that was a powerful comment as well.
Yeah.
I was also...
Can I ask you on that?
Sure.
What do you feel about it and what was bringing up like the sin part? Like what, because for me, I know I had made alcohol an idol. Not that my partaking so much it was that I had decided that I was going to turn it. And so I know I'm interested in that.
I think whenever I was honest with myself, I don't think I ever had peace about drinking alcohol. I think that I was able to, I guess, rationalize it, look at other friends who were Christians who would drink in moderation. And I think I guess the bottom line is I never really had peace about it. I constantly doubted if I should be drinking alcohol. I would ask. Over the years, I would think to myself, I would be sitting in women's Bible study and hear the speaker speaking. And I remember thinking, I should have coffee with her. I want to ask her if it's okay that I drink alcohol. Just things like that would kind of like take up too much mental space in my head, like rent free. And so, I think it was also feeling trapped. Feeling like I was being controlled by alcohol instead of me controlling it. I would say those are things that led me to a point to where I felt like it was probably a sin for me. And then the Lord led me, which I'll get to in a minute, on the day that I made this change. That morning, he led me to a verse in Romans. And I'm paraphrasing, but it basically said, if you are eating or drinking, in my mind, something that you have doubts about and you do it anyway, it is a sin. And that morning, whenever Jesus led me to that verse, on top of waking up that morning, looking at the empty wine glass next to my bed, feeling shame and conviction, because I would often look at that empty glass and think, yep, you're drinking every single night, all the way up until you go to sleep. And I believe it was the Holy Spirit that definitely intervened. And then it was a point to where I had to surrender it. And I knew I couldn't do it on my own. And I knew that I needed him to do it for me, to do the work, for me. So I'd say that was the point.
Yeah. I'm familiar with the cocktail on the nightstand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, continue.
So I was, another thing that led up to this change was I was also having a difficult time removing alcohol from my diet when I started a new weight loss program that specifically did not allow alcohol. I was paying so much money every month to be on this program, but I wasn't able to stop the drinking. And that was another red flag that I had a problem. I mean, I would just think to myself, okay, this has nothing to do with even the spiritual side. This is a weight loss issue here. And, they said it in the workbook. I had a coach and she said, stay away from alcohol, but yet it was just such a problem for me. And so that was another, I think, a big red flag that led me to this decision.
Mm-hmm.
And then another thing that led to this decision was I would do Google searches to try and find out, am I an alcoholic?
Which we always say on the podcast, if you're Googling, do I have a drinking problem? You probably have a drinking
Probably
problem.
have a drinking
just
problem.
just an
just maybe.
assumption. Yeah.
Many times. Remember that.
And the thing about that is I never checked off all the boxes, as far as that. And so, but there were a few on there. But yes, Matt, exactly like you say, if you're searching for that, if you're Googling that, that might be an indication that you have a problem.
But your checkbox scenario, I think, is a great because I think we all do it hoping we're going to look at that list and be like, well, our grade's pretty good, so we're probably okay, right? That's sort of that's really what I think you're looking for is I'm looking for validation that I don't. So I'm going to look for this. Oh, I didn't check all the boxes. So
right.
I'm 60%.
I'm probably okay.
I'm probably okay.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. So all of these things and some others that I just won't go into, but on Sunday, May 1st, 2022, I believe the Holy Spirit spoke so clearly to me that morning. And then my pastor at church that day preached a sermon that I felt like was specifically for me. One of the quotes I wrote down from the message was, "Begin by allowing Jesus Christ to give you the grace and strength to stop stupid." He was referring to sinning. And what stupid are you playing with? Because that stupid will spread in your life. It will begin to impact and infect. So ask yourself, what stupid am I playing with? And surrender it to Jesus. And I'm telling you, I was just like, okay, Lord, that's it. You're speaking to me. I mean, this is stupid. The thing that I want to do, not drink every day, I'm doing it. And the thing that I want to do, I wasn't doing, which was not drinking. So,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I love how he's, what's stupid.
Yeah.
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 I mean, it is. It's like, okay, I'm doing this. I'm hurting myself. I have anxiety. I'm doing this whole, I know you and I have talked, and you and definitely I have talked about that whole mental space. Mm-hmm. Like how much space in my brain is being occupied, not only when I'm not drinking, but just, it was like, it become this obsession.
Yes.
I shouldn't drink. I need to stop.
I know.
Oh, don't drink this much. How much can I drink? Oh, I need to stop drinking. Oh, why'd I drink that much? Like it's morning, noon, and night.
Right.
And
exactly.
like, oh, okay, when can I? Oh, is this the acceptable time?
Yeah. Oh, and I tried to moderate. I tried to say, okay, I'll only drink on the weekends. And then, Thursday's really attached to the weekend.
Weekends get really long when you do that, don't they?
Yeah.
Weekend starts on like Wednesday.
During the week, yeah. So there were many times that I tried to moderate and rationalize. Well, Monday night it's attached to the weekend.
It's Sunday adjacent.
Yeah.
I love that. I really love that.
Yeah.
Like, well, it'd be a 4-day weekend if there was a holiday.
And then this is a holiday.
Is there a holiday?
So then Tuesday's attached to the Monday holiday.
Well, there's always a holiday. It's like,
I just remember like knowing there was something desperately when I got to my last rule, and my last rule was I'm not going to drink on Sundays. Mm-hmm. My last rule, and I am sitting there. And I've told people this, I'm doing laundry. And oh my gosh, I'm folding laundry. This is so taxing. I better get myself a glass of wine.
Yeah.
I just remember I still drank the wine, but in that whole, the cognitive dissonance and everything going, what is happening here?
Yeah.
Why are you now drinking while you're doing your laundry? Because it's hard to do laundry?
Well, laundry is boring. I'll give you that. But
I mean, the only one I could really probably justify in my brain was when I was paying the bills. And I'm like, okay, prepare.
All right. So Hollie, continue though. So you're doing a stupid thing. You know that now, right?
So this time, with his strength, not mine, I finally surrendered it to Jesus. I repented, and he gave me and has continued to give me the strength every day since to stay away from alcohol. And I use the word repented intentionally because something happened that Sunday morning and the word came into my mind. And I pray, I use a prayer journal every morning for, it's probably been a couple of decades. Every morning I have my devotion, I pray, I journal, and I could look over so many journal entries that I would ask the Lord, am I doing anything outside your will for me? If I'm doing anything outside your will for me, Lord, please show me and take the desire away. And then I would even think certain days I would say, well, I have a desire to have wine tonight, so it must be okay. And just disregarding, the flesh so much. So the word, repent, it just was so clear to me that morning. True repentance is not just apologizing, saying I'm sorry. You're walking down a straight line. You realize that you're doing something wrong, and you do a 180, and you never go back. You're now walking the other way. That is true repentance. Yes. And it just resonated so well with me that morning that that's what I needed to do. So it is truly a gift to now be free from what I felt had such a hold on me. I was believing a lie that I would be stuck in that pattern forever. I honestly didn't think I would ever be free from alcohol. During the time I was drinking and so desperately wanting to quit, I remember thinking crazy thoughts like, and this is embarrassing, but I almost wish I had cancer or had some reason to be in the hospital for a long time, long enough to make me stop drinking. Good grief. I was in such bondage. I know that I was. Yeah. So I'm so thankful to God for being free from alcohol. It's been pretty much a miracle in my life.
I love that.
So you just, that Sunday, and then you just didn't drink again, huh?
Yeah,
wow.
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah. I love it.
That's impressive. But that's true repentance, right?
Yeah. And
I sat hungover in a church pew many weekends, but I don't think I truly repented. I was just like, I just would pray that take it away from me. I want to stop.
Yeah.
But not really.
And I think that the piece that you said, and that this is why our stories really do, they really do align together, is I remember for me having that, I feel like it was that come to Jesus moment, a divine conversation with God in the middle of the night. I had them prior, but it was finally this surrender for me was like, I am going to do the opposite of what I want to do in these moments. It was like, no, I want to drink. No, I did the 180. It's like anything I want to do, I'm not going to do it anymore.
Yeah.
I'm going to listen to what he wants for me finally.
Yeah.
Because I would sit there and say, I would even say I was sorry, but there was this like, okay, but then the addiction in the afternoon, you're like, okay, well, guess let's have a drink. But there was finally that, I think it's almost like there's finally it's total surrender.
That's
like,
right.
I'm done. And I'm not going to listen to me anymore. I don't know best.
Yeah.
So.
And Matt, you just asked me, so what, that you just stopped, that day. That might sound easy, but it wasn't easy.
Right.
I was very much white knuckling it the first, in the very beginning. I remember the first night, that Sunday night, and then waking up the next morning, my feet hit the ground, my hands went up, and I said, thank you, Jesus, day one. And then the next morning, thank you, Jesus, day two. And I was just praying. I was leaning into him, and I was relying on his strength. And I think something that's helped me stay away from alcohol is, some people may have heard of this before, but playing the tape forward, in my head. And when I get stressed or anxious or feel a desire or temptation to drink, I also, so I would play that forward in my head. I'd say, okay, what's that going to look like? Well, you can't stop with 1 5-ounce glass of wine. You know that it's like, what's even the use for drinking that little amount? You won't stop there. How are you going to feel when you wake up the next morning? You're going to feel that shame / conviction, because I truly believe I was under conviction by the Holy Spirit. But a couple of verses that have helped me along the way that I keep hidden in my heart, especially when I still feel anxious and still go through stressful times. 2 Corinthians 10:5, take every thought captive to the obedience of Christ. And then 1 Corinthians 10:13, God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. But when you are tempted, he will also provide a way out so that you can endure it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And many people misquote that, and they say that, oh, God never gives you more than you can handle. And that's not what God tells us.
Right.
It's about the temptation. There's always a way.
Well, and you're one day at a time. A lot of people are like, oh, look at people, it's been months and weeks and years that they've been not drinking. It's like, yeah, but you get there one day at a time.
Right.
Right. And we've told stories about, years and 2 years in that we'll like find ourselves in a place that we hadn't been, but like Epcot was an example I used the other day with somebody. It's like, oh, and you find yourself maybe not triggered, might not be there, but like tempted, maybe, it's like, oh, all of a sudden I'm feeling it's like, so it's not like all of a sudden you walk away and like, you never ever think about it. Like you may always find yourself, it's just like, okay, we'll deal with that situation. And then you move along.
Yeah.
But playing that tape forward is definitely something that we've leaned into a lot around here.
Play the tape forward. We're also replace
ingredients.
Yeah, keep the ritual, replace the ingredients. That was like was what got me. Yeah. I was able to finally, okay, I'm going to have that. Oh, no, making myself a little fun drink.
Yeah.
So that's good. Holly, did you do any of that? So like at the end of the day, all right, so you weren't doing your glass of wine. Did you get like NA wine or club soda or?
Okay, so that's a good question. In the beginning, I did replace the ingredient. I would read about fun mocktails, and I would buy flavored like sugars on, Amazon and get these different recipes. And so, yes, in the beginning, I did do that for a little while. But I don't mean to skip ahead here a little bit, but something that I had wanted to do in the past, because my husband believes in intermittent fasting, I never was able to do it because I had to drink my wine at night before I went to bed. And intermittent fasting, you really need to cut off the eating or the caloric intake. Well, for me, it was like 6 o'clock in the evening. Stop snacking before bed, And so, however, in the beginning, in these early days of being alcohol free, I did replace the ingredient, and I do believe that it helped me. When we would go out of town on trips, if I wanted a slice of cheesecake or an expensive chocolate truffle from somewhere, I had it because my goal was to not drink alcohol. That was the number one goal in my life at that time.
Yes.
I was like, Lord, help me not drink alcohol. So yes, in the beginning I did, but I guess I could say when I got my sea legs or, got some strength underneath me, probably about a year after I had stopped drinking, I started doing intermittent fasting. And then I wasn't doing, as much of the mocktail. It switched over to, one of my favorite drinks is Topo Chico with fresh lime.
Oh, yeah.
Fresh lime and a little agave. That's like my favorite, but I don't always have the agave at night. So I'll use like stevia or monk fruit or whatever because of the intermittent fasting. So
I love that.
But yeah, in the beginning, I think it's important for anyone who is struggling, especially if you're early on, day 1, day 5, day 15, replace the ingredient. If you can find something to reward yourself, because you're day by day, 24 hours at a time, and so it's okay, have a fun non-alcoholic drink, whatever that is. Or if that's not your thing, have a chocolate. You
That's
know?
right.
So
Yeah. Well, you're fighting one demon at a time, right? So don't worry about
Yeah.
as much, temporarily. Don't, like, I picked up a pretty good sugar habit and I quit. But I didn't worry about that because I wasn't drinking.
Yeah.
Like, we'll get to the sugar,
Right.
but let's
Exactly.
focus on the fact that we're not drinking.
yes.
Once we kind of get that, then we can let's work on the next thing, right?
And I want to bring in a little bit about celebrating, because that's another thing that I think, as a coach, celebrating those wins. And at the beginning, I know for me, celebrating every day was huge,
Yes.
especially as we're going through it. And you're like, okay, one day, oh my gosh.
I know.
When I got up to, I think, 7 days, I remember being in our kitchen and going, I don't know when the last time was that it was 7 days in a row. And then after that, it was like every day. It was like, oh my gosh, I'm at 8 days. And it was that constant evening celebrating. And I think that's so huge on this journey, and being like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Another day, hitting the bed and being like, I'm here.
Yeah.
Did you have in the beginning, I don't know, did you have those moments where you were like a real struggle? Like were there any times where you're like,
Maybe I'm not.
what am I
convicted enough.
doing? What am I doing? Should I keep doing this? Or, was there that battle?
Yes. I would say sometimes I still have that battle, especially when I'm around alcohol.
Okay.
I haven't arrived yet. I'm not bulletproof against alcohol. If I'm sitting at a dinner table or, with guests, friends that I love, and if they are drinking in front of me, sometimes I will think to myself, just for a second, do you really have a problem with alcohol? Can't you moderate this? Do you really have to completely abstain? You could just have a celebratory drink with your, friend or family member or whatever. And then I just have to remind myself, I know the truth. I already tried that. I've already tried to moderate alcohol. And I know now that I'm a much better abstainer than moderator of alcohol. And so I have to remind myself of that. And I am hoping that one day I can sit right in front of someone that's drinking, wine or a cocktail, and it won't even faze me. Like, I pray for that day. I want it to come. I do believe, I tell myself, I believe that will come one day, but I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
I'm not unfazed by being in close proximity. When we go to a restaurant, my husband and I, if they want to seat us next to the bar, I just say we'd rather not sit over there because I'm not there yet.
Got it.
When I see someone in front of me drinking a glass of wine, I start thinking about the wine. I start thinking about my favorite wine. I can feel it drinking it, the warmth, the feeling, and that's not good because when I look at it, if I think that, then I know that I have to be careful. I really do. So,
And I think that's where the playing it forward comes in. You're like, okay, because your brain immediately goes to, oh, that first sip and that part. But let's play it forward. There's another. Now I got stained teeth. Now I don't sleep good. Now I feel like crap. Now I may say things I didn't want to say. Now I'm back in my,
Now I'm waking up in the middle of the night.
So quickly, when you
yes, I
stack
had
the
the
pros
4
and cons next to each other, the con list starts to quickly outweigh the pro. But your brain always wants to hold on to and I think that this is true of any memory, right? Like our brain suppresses the bad and maintains or elevates the positive. So even with alcohol, it's like, I remember all the fun I had and the good times. Do you remember the throwing up? Do you remember the stomach problems? Do you remember the whatever headaches?
Yeah, the headaches.
Right, the shame, the guilt, the money,
tears, and for me, the tears and worship.
Oh, yes.
The tears and going, what is wrong with me? And then I'm here in the moment. I'm giving it to you, but then as soon as I would walk out, being like, oh, okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
And then not being good. And I think I love how you talk about, like playing it forward. I hope that I can give you hope in this because I did as well. Like you're like going, sometimes I would sit there and I'd be like, okay. And I was even coaching going, yep, it's good. I'm good. And then we would go somewhere and I'd be like, all right, just keep, you know what? You know all of these things about alcohol. You know all of these things about there's not one thing about it that is going to be redeeming for you.
Right.
And I would just keep going. And I remember being at our front door, and this was not that long ago. I remember just opening up the door and my hand is on the doorknob and I'm looking at Matt going, can you believe it? It's 5 o'clock. Look what we're doing. We're going on a walk. And we're no longer obsessed with making sure that
we're home.
Like I have a drink in my hand on my walk, or we have this, and it was just like we're living, and I'm like, and it comes, and it is just this time is what you need. And we were at Sisterhood last night, and Lizzie talking about the time we have to just embrace time. That it eventually we're gonna walk in and be like, oh. Like one of my biggest tricks that I tell people is I would visualize alcohol in a red Solo cup, stale from the night before, like when I was in college, with cigarette butts. And I would look at that and be like, cancer juice. And now, so that was like a quick thing that I could do. Like when I'm in that moment, I'd be like, oh, like we were at an event in the spring, and I just remember looking around, and I couldn't unsee it. I could not unsee everyone at the bar with their red Solo cups everywhere around me. It's like when we visualize, like, oh, always visualize somebody if you're nervous. Everybody in the audience is in their underwear or something. I could not get that out, and I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, I was visually and physically feeling ill from that. And I mean, that's kind of one of those things that actually I think I've done too well.
Hollie, could you talk about some of the freedoms you've experienced since you've quit drinking?
Sure.
I mean, like, my surprise one was like, oh, my stomach problems weren't IBS. They were because I drank too much alcohol, or, a lot of people have improved sleep, or just, quality time, or, hey, I do a lot more activities because I'm not spending my nights boozing it up.
Well, probably the biggest freedom is peace. I have peace now that I did not have before, because like I said earlier, I don't think I ever had peace with my drinking. The 3 a.m., 4 a.m. wake-up calls don't happen on a regular basis, because part of the reason why I drank was because I experience anxiety. I struggle with it, even though I know that's not what the Lord wants. I do struggle with anxiety, and just having peace, it's priceless. And so that's one of the things. And then not waking up so early, and then not having so much mental thought during the day of managing my alcohol intake, especially if I'm staying out of town somewhere or at a family member's house, or, when you're drinking every night, you have to think about it. You have to plan for it. Right. You have to make sure you have what you need. And, that's a gift. That's
all that brain power you free up, because it's like, okay. And I think that feeds in the anxiety too, right? Like you're not having to think about it all the time. So that's less anxiety of just planning your alcohol intake, or am I going to drink too much around these people, or I can't drink enough here, or.
Do you feel like your anxiety has improved?
Yes, I do think my anxiety has improved. Because I learned pretty quickly about I don't know all the details, but the detox that you go through after having even one drink, or 3. There's like, I read a lot of quit lit books in the beginning because I desired knowledge. I wanted to know more about what I had been doing to my body. And the way I understand it, you have a shorter beginning of the detox, which can be about 5 hours after you've drank. And that was my 3 or 4 a.m. wake up call. And then hours into the next day, your cortisol levels are, imbalanced, and you're going through another, wave of anxiety. And so I didn't know that when I was drinking.
No one knows these
You don't.
things.
And then you almost want to go around and tell the world, like everyone because I would say a huge percentage of my friends drink alcohol, and in moderation, I'm sure. But it's like you want to tell them, especially when you know that they are struggling or they have anxiety, and you want to say, hey, you know what? This is not helping you. Yeah. This is actually making it worse for you.
The greatest life hack. I really believe it. Yeah. I believe that letting go and not drinking is such a huge life hack. I mean, because when you start to see all the benefits, like, you're no longer, or maybe you're occasionally having that morning where you're waking up, but that changes. And then the next thing you know, you're more productive, and you're not snapping at people. You're more available.
Right.
You're more, and I want to say the big thing too is I was more available to me. Now that brought up stuff. That brought up those feelings.
Because we have to face it. We have to walk right through it. We can't circumvent it with alcohol.
No. And so that anxiety starts to come up. So what are some of the things that you do now when you start to feel like, okay, I'm starting to feel anxious? What do you do now?
Well, usually I pray first, and I'm like, Lord, help me through this. I've often just gone for a walk, go on a walk. In the beginning, I picked up crocheting.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I made several blankets for my granddaughter and my daughters, and because you have more time on your hands when you're not drinking. And I found a lot of therapy, or it was therapeutic to crochet, do something with my hands. I did do that. And so that was something that would help me get through those times. We're still going to have problems. We're still going to, face conflict with people. Yeah. But I really believe the time, and the more times you get through those times and the days start counting up, I think that we are rewiring our brain and in a healthy way. And it's like every time we're able to get through something without an addictive substance, you're growing in your strength in it. It's going to get easier. And every time that you go through those times, the strength builds whenever you don't give into it and drink.
Yeah, that's so true.
I had one more question before we let you go. Was your husband a drinker? Is he a drinker? How did that play out in this whole thing?
Well, as far as our relationship, my husband and I have always had a good relationship. I think the biggest relationship, let me back up. He is not a drinker, and I cannot say how thankful I am for that. I hear of women, like on my Facebook groups that I'm in, talk about how difficult it is when their husband is still drinking. And so I am thankful to God. My husband's never been a drinker. He has his own, reasons why, but yeah, I don't have to deal with that on a daily basis. He doesn't like alcohol. He never wants to have alcohol. He never made me feel bad about, drinking. As far as he knew, I was drinking in moderation because, when you're drinking too much, well, I won't speak for everyone, but I would hide if I go and fill up my glass again. Right. I would try to, right. Hopefully he's not behind my shoulder or whatever. And somehow I was able to block out that the Lord's always with me and he could always see. But that's one thing I'm thankful for is, I did want to go back and say something about a positive thing or something that was unexpected. Sometime after I stopped drinking, I began to reflect and ask myself, what was it that led me to run to alcohol every night? I felt like if I could start to identify like triggers, that it could help me stay away from alcohol this time, because I wanted this time to be different. And it has been. But I started to realize that the business that I owned, which was making custom sugar cookies, it was a big part of it. My life had been so consumed with cookie orders, I felt like I had no balance and no margin in my life. I would run to the wine at night to seek some relief from the pressure and anxiety that I was living with while trying, to fulfill all the constant orders. I remember cringing every time I received a custom cookie Google order form. And I just realized that I had been self-medicating to continue doing what I was doing, like to get the orders out and get the work done. And then I read somewhere along the way about the term toxic productivity. And toxic productivity is essentially an unhealthy desire to be productive at all times, at all costs. And it can make us feel like a failure if we're not constantly doing. And so when toxic productivity is leading your life, you judge yourself every day for what you haven't done rather than looking at what you have accomplished. And so when I read that, I knew that that term resonated with me deeply. So after I quit drinking and thinking over, the triggers and things that brought me so much anxiety, I felt like the Lord said, enough, no more cookies, like lay it down. I know that probably sounds so like silly that cookies can be toxic in your life, but I had very much had so much like passion for it, and I enjoyed the artwork that I would do on these custom sugar cookies. But I painfully finished the last orders that I was committed to, and then I just felt so free. This was absolutely a God moment in my life, because, I used to have so much passion for making cookies, but it led me to an unhealthy place. And God truly changed my heart about it. I lost the desire and passion for it because it was a huge thing that led me to drink. And what I really wanted to do is focus on my health, taking care of my home and my husband, cooking meals again, and finally getting back to exercising again, because these were things that were suffering because of my business and the imbalance of it. I wanted to gain more balance in my life. And also, just a few weeks after I quit drinking, I found out I was going to be a Mimi, a grandmother. And I was then more available and present for my family, and also was able to start volunteering again at the Crisis Pregnancy Center in my area, which I had wanted to do for several years, but work had taken over my life, and I lost sight. So yeah, that was an unexpected positive thing.
I love it.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I love it. And I love how, how we met. I do. When people hear it, that story, they're like, what? I'm like, I know it's crazy. You're on a group, and we all want connection. And that's the one thing I do love, the groups. I love being a community. I love getting in to these groups and getting support. So that would be one thing that I would tell people. If you are feeling like you're really alone in this and you're in a group, put in there, hey, is anybody in this area? I mean, obviously you and I were not in the same area, but you can find, there's probably somebody, maybe they're not here. I've had a couple of, people that I've got to meet up with out of that group. And you and I's story, I just am like, now I'm like, oh, well, your grandbaby's here. So,
Yeah.
when you come in town, all right.
That's right.
We've got to have a coffee date. We've got to have that connection. And I think that's
So get on those groups, make some connections.
make
You too may be in a stranger's house.
right. On a podcast.
Exactly.
Are you going to ask the last question, Matt?
Well, I think I know the answer because you kind of
I know,
already said
so
it. But what is your favorite, tonight when you go hang out with the grandbabies, what's your go-to NA drink now?
Yeah, I have to say it again. It is Topo Chico with fresh lime. I like a lot of fresh lime in there.
Oh my gosh, we buy so much lime.
So it's just, it's so good. It's so refreshing, and it works for me. So I love it.
I love
Well, thank you so much for being here in a stranger's house. Well, maybe change the podcast to a stranger's
Not a stranger.
house. Not anymore.
Strangers.
Not anymore.
No. Now we're all friends.
Yes.
Yes. Thank y'all for having me.
You're so welcome.
Well, thank you, Holly, for making the journey from your home to the cornfields to sit in the dining room with us. That was wonderful.
Yeah. And let's just remember why she really came up here.
Okay. It wasn't for us, to be honest.
Yeah,
but
she came up to see her little precious grandchild be dedicated in our church. And it's amazing how God works things together.
it's just so nice to have a face-to-face
It's so
conversation
much fun. And
after
it's-
2 years of online interviews and stuff.
And we're going to have a few more.
Yeah.
In-house.
We have one more in the can ready to go. And
then we have,
a couple lined up.
I'm trying to get one lined up and just talking about, the advantages of living an alcohol-free life.
There you go. Get it out there, kids. All right. Well, thank you for joining us this week on the Alcohol-Free Marriage and More podcast. Enjoy that Turkey Day. Stay sober out there, kids. I'm Matt, along with Coach Amy, wishing you peace and love from the cornfields. And we are
Out.